Welcome to Dear X, a new podcast series from the creators of The Mohua Show. In this podcast, we will speak to individuals who've had the courage to call it quits in their relationships and marriages when it wasn't working any longer. We will discuss the dreaded D word of divorce, which most of us shy away from. Dear X will speak to once married, now single folks, people going through heartbreak, counselors, and lawyers to bring you honest, trippy truths of what it took to say no more. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Advocate Sonia Rajesh, a seasoned legal professional with 17 years of expertise in divorce, domestic violence, child custody, family law, criminal defense. She's the founder of Sonia and Partners, leads a team of 19 legal associates and representing clients before various courts. So let's stay tuned for today's episode where we are going to really get into the details of family law, legal challenges that she helps clients navigate, which is such a tricky and a big job. So welcome, Sonia, in today's episode. So first question that comes to my head is, we often hear the term mutual consent divorce, which most people say that yahi karna chahiye. You should not get into this whole, chakkar of all the lawyers and the rest of it, and it's going to be very sticky, and contested divorce. Can you just explain, for our listeners, what is the difference between the two?
Oh, the difference is here the mutual consent is a divorce where both the husband and wife together file the petition, but a contested divorce is where one party fights for the divorce. So either the spouse, that is a husband or a wife, files a petition before the family court for the divorce.
And in your, practice, how many women do you see really consenting, for the divorce, and how many contest the divorce? I mean, if you look at the ratio of gender.
No. I think it would be wrong to say for us that, that lot of women or lot of men, now it is irrespective of gender, people move towards the divorce. And I see women, being very okay with this, because if there is no adjustment, if her rights are not protected, then it makes sense for her to move to the courts and, live life according to her terms and conditions.
So what are the key legal considerations, when going through a mutual consent divorce, where there are children involved? Because children wala case mein kafi sticky ho jata hai, so if you can just throw a little bit of light on this.
See, what happens is in a mutual divorce, it is very comfortable if the husband and wife, come to certain adjustments and come to certain agreements between each other for the, parental visitations, for the, expenses of the children and other various factors, whatever it includes for the welfare of the child. So it is good that they come ahead and bring in certain terms which are amicable for both of them, so that the child is more comfortable in all these things. Because what happens, we have seen is, of course, their egos and their whatever the situations they go through, the most affected is the child here, because nobody understands what the child is going on, the psychological impact of the child. So when they come up for an amicable divorce, it is good because they agree to certain things where the child is comfortable and child is not changed with the environment, and certain agreements are made on that basis. So it is really comfortable for the child, and there is less impact which the child goes through.
So how does the court typically determine child custody arrangements, and what factors are taken into account, especially when it's mutual consent?
The courts would not interfere in this because it is a mutual consent. The husband and the wife both together come and get into agreements for the custody, for the visitation, for the maintenance of the child, for the educational expenses and everything. The court would not interfere in this. But when it is a contested divorce, then is what the courts take decisions that who the child will stay with, what is the financial implications, who will contribute how much. All this the courts will decide. But in a mutual, it is absolutely the parties who come to an agreement.
So let's talk a little bit about this really sticky subject of child custody. So what are the common misconceptions that you frequently encounter, in your practice about child custody?
So what happens is, every time when I see my clients coming to me, or whatever I hear is that usually the child custody is where it is given to the mother, and father does not get the child custody, which is a very big misconception, because nowadays we see that both the parents equally contribute towards the child, and the courts are gender not, they don't discriminate on the basis that the mother only should get the child custody or the father. It is only the welfare of the child which is taken into consideration by the legal system, and wherever, with whomever, whichever parent the child is comfortable, the child custody is decided on that parent's favor.
So let's just talk about the legal impact of child custody. If it's proven that the mother has had an extramarital affair and, is adulterous, because that can really go against the entire case if the woman goes in for divorce. So what happens to the child in such situations?
See, mostly this only part of adultery or an extramarital affair cannot determine the custody of the child, because unless if this relationship or this adultery or affects the child, the court will not only per se decide that if the lady is having an affair or she's into adultery or whatever the circumstances she is in, that the custody of the child should go to the other parent. So that is not only the criteria for the decision to be made in that favor.
So, Sonia, also, I think, what would be very interesting for many of our listeners to know that if there is a travel or a job relocation and there is child custody involved in this, so how does one need to navigate this?
Okay, this is a very, very good question. And equally, what happens is we see parents coming to us, and if these points are not agreed upon during, in case it is a mutual, I will give you both the things. In case it is a mutual, then the parties should agree for a, condition that there has to be no objection for any kind of domestic or international travel. Once it is undertaken and agreed by the other parent, then it becomes very easy, so that later on after the divorce, either of the parent can take the child outside the country, keeping each other informed. But in a contested matter, there are ways that we file another separate petition under custody acts and get this order by the court, and then they take it ahead. So NOC is a very, very important thing. Mainly what happens is during these things, when the divorce happens, parents forget that these things may happen future in life, and knowing now when both the parents are working, it is inevitable that parents have to travel and they cannot leave their child here. So it is better to agree upon, even before the divorce is signed, that the NOCs should be collected from each other, so that things are smooth later on.
So tell us what happens if sometimes, without the consent of, the person between the two parties, somebody has got the custody of the child and the other parent comes, takes the child and goes, even for an hour or maybe for an evening out, and the other parent doesn't get to know. How do you deal with a situation like this?
See, the first step there would be, of course, if it is agreed in the mutual consent or in a divorce agreement that these are the timings, and they follow that, well and good. But without even informing, or as per se, other than the visitation rights, if they try to take the child out, then the first that the either parent should go to the police station and give a complaint. But if the without even informing the other parent, if the child is taken away, then we will have to approach the high court and file certain petitions under certain writs and move ahead.
And tell me about the legal system in India. How does it address domestic violence? Especially, I think domestic violence itself, a lot of people really hesitate to even report, and they continue to stay on, in marriages for years on end, thinking that, it's going to get better tomorrow, it's going to get better day after tomorrow. So how do you handle situations with DV?
Okay. Our DV is it is a law which has been, made in the year 2005. And I think courts have taken this and made this law for the women, because women usually don't come up and report domestic abuse. They give in to the, things, and they adjust in the environment to see if the marriage can work. But what happens is, this domestic violence act is a very, very collaborative act which contains everything. A woman who files a domestic violence can claim protection orders, can claim child custody also, and also seek for maintenance in one such petition. Everything can be covered under this, and she can seek for remedies to the court.
My God, Sonia, this is so good. It's so enlightening, for so many people, because they're so frightened of the entire legal system. And most people discourage that don't go into this whole thing, try and adjust, try and stay on. So I think this episode is so close to my heart, Sonia. So also, let's just figure out what happens. Like, the father has agreed now, to pay for the child support. And then I've heard of many, many cases where they've moved on with another woman who's had another child, or they've had a life of their own and they don't pay up. What can a woman do?
These things keep happening. The lady who has got a favorable order from the court for such kind of maintenance, or the father has agreed, and if he stops paying or something, then she can file an execution suit, or executional orders to the court. And what happens is she can also get a garnishee order from the court telling that from his salary directly the amount of maintenance which is agreed should come to her. And it can go to the extent where the husband can be imprisoned also. So court can issue non-bailable warrants against him if he does not follow the order, because it is a contempt of court.
What happens if the mother does not turn up, turns up for visitation of the child after divorce, although, she has agreed to?
Again, it is a contempt of court, and court will take this into serious consideration. He will have to file a petition asking the court, to issue orders against her. And if she continuously does not follow, she may also lose the custody of the child. So she will have to follow the orders of the court. So he has a right to file again a custody petition before the family court.
So, Sonia, this is a word that I have not heard, and I'm sure quite a few of our listeners have not heard of: paternity fraud and its impact, on the custody of the child. So, please tell us a little bit about what is paternity fraud.
See, the parent who thinks that he is the father or the mother of the, who's the father of the child, actually does, realizes later that he is not the father of the child only. So that is what is called the paternity fraud, where, they get into relationships, and later on, the husband gets to know that there is a paternity fraud and the child is not mine. And then when the husband gets to know this, then he will have to seek orders from the court to first get all the paternity tests done. It's a complete procedure which he would have to follow, which is very, very common nowadays, I could tell. Maybe you all would not have heard about this, but this is what is going on, very prevalent in the society nowadays.
There is a change here. So obviously we're talking about this in cities, where this sort of thing is happening constantly.
Yes, more in metro cities, I would say.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for being on today's episode. And I think I've had the most enlightening discussion. And, you threw light on so many aspects of divorce and separation that many, many of my listeners may get insight and help with you. So thank you for being on today's podcast. And thanks once again.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Dear X from the creators of The Mohua Show. We would be delighted to get your feedback for these candid conversations that our guests shared with us. If you want to reach out to us, DM us at our Instagram page, The Mohua Show. We all know to call it quits isn't easy. To D or not to D isn't really an easy question to answer.